Good morning. Come on, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. There we go. All right, so today we'll have a guest speaker to discuss deer-resistant plants. Okay, now by a show of hands, who's ever seen the effects of deer consuming their plants? Right? Your mom's swallow bed is usually the culprit, right? So listen up, because today our guest speaker will discuss ways to avoid this from happening in the future. All right, so our guest speaker studies environmental horticulture at the Virginia Polytechnic Institute State University, and outside the classroom she conducts her own research on horticulture. Therefore, she is very well versed in the subject and can answer any questions you have after the presentation. So our presenter's interest in this subject originated from an experience that she had, much like the one you raised your hands to just a moment ago. She lives in the wooded area of Virginia where a lot of deer roam freely. And one day she's walking outside to check on her pumpkin plant when she discovered that it had been completely decimated and eaten by deer. Now, rather than staying upset about this happening, she decided to go ahead and study ways to prevent this from happening in the future. So thank you for your attention, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Jenny and her presentation on Basic Plant Safe.
Good morning, I'm Jenny and I would like to talk to you all about the nuisance that is deer eating all of your plants. So here, and you can see my presentation. People will spend all day planting their gardens, only to come out the next day to see the fruits of their labors, to find that half of what they've planted has been eaten. Well, you can all blame Bambi, because the main culprit is the white-tailed deer. So the question remains, is any plant safe? Well, not exactly. Deer are going to eat what they want, but some plants will stand a better chance against the deer's hunger than others. And those plants are known as deer-resistant plants. So, what I want you all to take away from this is a little bit of background on the deer, what makes a plant resistant or what makes it attractive to the deer, and some examples of plants that you should and should not use in your garden, and then just some other methods of protecting your plants from deer and other hungry little woodland creatures. So, the white-tailed deer. Some people love them and some people hate them. But no matter what, they're here to stay. It's really fun to get to see the wildlife and see the deer in your backyard, but it's not fun when they start eating everything that you've worked super hard on. So, according to NatureWorks, deer can be found in southern Canada to most of the United States, except for the Southwest, Alaska, and Hawaii. So if you hate deer, you should move there. Due to human expansion and development, a lot of the deer's natural predators have been hunted and killed. But the population stays mostly under control, especially during hunting season. But in more suburban areas where there's a lot more people and less hunting, the population can grow a bit out of control. So with higher populations, there's going to be less food available in the wild, and that causes the deer to come out of the forest and into people's yards only to eat all of your plants. So keeping in mind that deer will eat whatever they want, there's no such thing as a deer-proof plant. There's deer-resistant plants. So according to Dr. Leonard Perry, a horticulture professor at the University of Vermont, deer will eat just about any plant rather than starve. And so some plants are attractive to them, while some will deter them. Dr. Perry said that deer tend to like plants that are rich in protein, carbohydrates, minerals, and salts, and they like plants that are moist and tender. So deer love new growth. They like plants that are rich in protein because deer can only store protein and nitrogen in small amounts, and they need a steady supply during certain peak periods. And they like plants that are moist and tender because deer get about 1/3 of their water from the moisture in plants. But knowing just what attracts the deer is only half of the battle. The ultimate goal here is to deter the deer. So Dr. Perry said that plants with prickly leaves, a lot of leaf hair, or plants with a bitter or alkaloid taste, deer will tend to stay away from that. They'll generally stay away from poisonous plants, and they have a sensitive sense of smell, so they'll stay away from strong smelling plants. How much they eat will vary depending on season. So deer-resistant plants will not work as well in the spring and fall because they'll be eating more then. Because they'll either be storing up for winter, or they'll be after a long winter and they'll be eating all of the new growth. And then they'll slow down and become more selective in the summer because they're more content with what they have and they don't need to eat everything. And according to Dr. Perry's research, it also said that deer tend to remember if they've had a plant that they just didn't like, and they'll stay away from that too. So thanks to Rutgers, New Jersey, Agriculture Experiment Station, the deer-resistant plants can be broken down into 4 categories. Rarely damaged, seldom severely damaged, occasionally severely damaged, and frequently severely damaged. So if you're in an area of high deer population, what 2 categories do you think that it would be safe to pick from? Well, the first 2. The more deer you have, the more plants you want that are less likely to be eaten. So plants in the rarely damaged category would include American holly, lavender, lily of the valley, and golden bamboo. And plants in the seldom severely damaged category would include primrose, honey locust, red maple, and violets. And then if you're in an area of lower deer population, what 2 categories can you be safe to pick from? Well, the second 2. But because it's lower deer population, you're really safe to pick from any of them. Plants in the occasionally severely damaged would include balloon flowers, fall mums, winter creeper, and sweet gum trees. And then plants in the frequently severely damaged category would include rhododendron, candy lily, yews, and cherries. And then going back to Dr. Leonard's research on the deer-resistant plants, certain poisonous plants to the deer would be certain mushrooms, foxglove, or daffodils. Plants with prickly leaves could be hollies or evergreens, and lamb's ear is a great example of plants that have a lot of leaf hair on it. So the deer will stay away from all those too. And then you can go back and look these up. There's a much longer list. I just picked a few examples. And then, sorry, if just having plants that deer typically don't like isn't enough to keep them away, and you're still having a problem, like keeping the deer away, some other methods can and should be implemented. So according to Better Homes and Gardens, you can have certain odor deterrents that you can place around your plants to kind of keep the deer at bay. Some examples of those would be mothballs, garlic, or a fabric softener. You can use certain noise deterrents, and those would be like flags and sprinklers. Better Homes and Gardens also said that if you're going to have a fence around your garden or yard, the fence needs to extend into the ground, have no gaps bigger than 6 by 6 inches. It needs to enclose the entire yard, and it needs to be at least 8 feet tall. So it needs to extend into the ground so that the deer can't squeeze underneath it, and same thing with the gaps. If you give them an opportunity, they will get into your yard, and they will get into your plants. Some deer can jump over the 8-foot fence, so having angled net, tree branches, or thorny shrubs on top of your fence is the best way to deter the deer from trying to jump over it. According to Pest Kill, there's another way to kind of deal with the hungry deer would be wolf urine. So you can take that, you can buy it at the store. You can take that and just spray it wherever you think that the deer are getting into your plants or getting into your yard, and they will smell that and think that it's another animal marking its territory, and they'll stay away. And the wolves are predators of the deer, so the deer are smart enough to know that if they smell their urine that they should stay away for their own safety. So, plants and animals live in harmony in the woods. And while animals may think that they're living in harmony in people's yards, the people may disagree. So, the white-tailed deer will cause a lot of damage to people's yards, and that's why it's important to know what plants will attract them or what plants will deter them. you have to know why they will attract or deter them. And if your plants just aren't cutting it, then it's not going to hurt you to know some other methods to keep them away. So all in all, if you want your garden to thrive, you need to know what plants will stand a chance against them and what plants will just be a snack to them. Thank you.